Hey people, Sleepy Reader here, aka Damien. Finally putting up my comic book countdown from comics from Wednesday, June 2nd. So, yet another Wednesday went by. I've been struggling for about 4 days to find time to, for a moment of free time to put together, sit down and just go over these comics. For whatever for whatever reason, I feel a strong need to always do this every week. It seems to be a good thing for me. Can't believe I'm drinking this stuff. Picked it up at the store by accident and discovered I liked it. Don't know why. So it was kind of a so-so week, but the comic at number one was definitely a star comic for me. There were a bunch of disappointments or just meh comics in the mix. And I was watching some other videos of people talking about comics, and it always amazes me. It should not, but it always amazes me that comics I think are horrible are loved by other people. And comics that I love are like, meh, or even horrible to some other people. So that's the way it goes, and that's just a way to remind you that this is particularly a subjective ranking based totally on how I felt when I read them. It could be a brilliant comic, and I could even know that, but still not like it, and then it's going to get a low rank. I don't know if Family Tree is a brilliant comic. Maybe if you read it in trade, some people might think so. It's got brilliant art. Phil Hester at his best. Is Phil Hester doing some Superman? Did I hear some people say that? And I think they weren't too satisfied with him on Superman, but he is fantastic on this kind of stuff. And the colorist also. And he works with an inker, unlike most people. So Phil Hester, Eric Gasper, and Ryan Cody should all get a lot of great credit for their work on Family Tree. And for that matter, the what lettering we have in here is pretty good too. But so this was deeply disappointing to me. Family Tree was one of my favorite comics back in its first 4 or 5 issues. Then it kind of went downhill. And by this last issue, it both feels like it's sort of incoherent with its time jumps, and the fact that I think it's been months since the previous issue, number 11, came out. So it's hard to remember everybody. But there's all these time jumps, and at the same time, it feels like we're going over conflicts and stuff that we've seen many times already in Family Tree, but now just having them regurgitated to us in a more incoherent fashion. So it's hard to figure out what's what and what's going on in this final issue of the comic. I even got to the point where it's like, is this guy with glasses, skinny guy with glasses, now this buff guy without glasses? I think he was, but I'm not sure. The indicators of going back and forth in time are also not clear. So really rough for me. So I put that at number 11. At almost, or just as frustrating, at number 10 is Everfrost. I guess less disappointing because I didn't have any previous expectations. I was expecting from Black Mask something unusual, but it felt kind of like a generic sci-fi fantasy story, science fantasy, you might even say, some kind of in the future of Earth, but also resembling a fantasy story with dragons and whatnot. And it also flashes around in time, and it has a lot of narration that is so out of context that it seems incoherent and retarded to me. Sorry, I shouldn't use loaded words like retarded, because I bet there's people out there who love this. But that's how it felt to me. But at the same time, I felt like, well, if it had been organized a little better with a few more clues, it could have been a pretty solid fantasy comic, because it's got really nice artwork by this person named Sammy Cavella. Quite nice artwork and very nice coloring by, let's get her full name, by Lauren, of course I don't know how to pronounce, AFFE, Lauren Affe. Anyway, great art team, all kinds of fun creatures, a bit a little bit of science fiction, a little bit of Lord of the Rings, a little bit of Cthulhu here. But you just can't tell what's going on, and you don't care. I picked this up and put it down several times. So here's kind of a robot version of, what was she called? The Stalk? The Will? No. But from Saga. It looks like that female assassin from Saga to me. But there's this, on the cover and in the story, this cool talking monkey creature with like a tentacled tail, tentacles at the end of his tail. It almost looks like a mechanical tail. I'm not sure. But this woman, I guess her child was killed by her husband because of the ruler of Earth. Is it Earth? During this time of winter, this ice age. And maybe she wants revenge. I don't know. She killed her husband. Maybe now she wants to get Ward, the ruler, or whatever he is, or maybe he's the ward. And then she finds these creatures that she says are her cloned sons, and I guess she kills them too? I don't know. So there's that. Much more interesting, but still a frustrating read, was Marvel Double Action, which is interesting because if I remember correctly, Marvel Double Action, if there was such a book, or a book with a similar title, was a reprint book when I was a kid. But anyway, this is apparently, and I didn't even know when I picked it up, it's apparently part of Heroes Reborn, The World of No Return. And it's an alternate non-616 universe with a Black Nighthawk. This is written by Tim Seeley and drawn by Dan Jurgens. And it's full of all kinds of interesting twists to the 70s and early 80s Marvel. Excuse me as I burp. So Nighthawk is kind of a combination of Spider-Man, Nighthawk, and Captain America. I mean, he's teamed up with the Falcon. He's somehow involved in one of his main villains is the Goblin. He's somehow involved in the lives of Harry Osborn and Gwen Stacy. I don't think Mary Jane shows up in here, and so it should have been it's kind of like when it almost has a slightly Alan Moore feel, but the whole thing is kind of plodding and boring. Their attempt at recreating the Bronze Age doesn't have much pizzazz. Like, look at this page. This is the exact opposite of, if you remember the book. Pardon me, something caught in my throat. If you remember the book, How to Draw the Marvel Way, and they would have John Buscema draw a page the non-Marvel way and the correct Marvel way with all the exciting angles. This page is like exactly like how you should not draw it in How to Draw the Marvel Way, I thought, which was funny. So yeah, the art could have been more exciting. So instead of Gwen Stacy getting killed, I'm spoiling it here. Instead of Gwen Stacy getting killed, the Falcon gets killed. Luke Cage is the police commissioner. So I liked this world. This really should have been a more fun comic, and I kind of want more comics like this, but with more pizzazz. So maybe I should take a closer look at Heroes Reborn. I was in my sort of backup shop today, and I was looking at some of the other Heroes Reborn issues, and they were all like $4.99, $5.99. So I decided not to buy them. But maybe I'll read them someday on Marvel Unlimited. That should clear my throat. In at number 8 was Inkblot, which is a series that I've enjoyed with the sort of feeling that it's not quite all it could be. And I think this was kind of a continuation of the previous issue, and it was kind of clever in that it's showing a war between the two immortal sisters' kingdoms, but through the eyes of these crooks who disguise themselves as soldiers so they won't get caught in their crime and they get sucked into the war. but somehow it just didn't grab me a whole lot. And then in at number 7 is Basilisk from Boom Comics, another Colin Bunn comic. It's got pretty good art and coloring, and it's a pretty good story. I think I like the cover best of all, actually. And it's got nice thick paper that's made out of. So it's a nice horror comic. You can't tell yet what the deeper concept is. There's someone on the run. The basilisk is some kind of mythical creature that can kill you with its eyes by looking at you. And so I think this person has that power. And the other character, the two characters look a lot alike. And the other character, I guess, had her family killed by basilisks or by some kind of secret organization that the basilisk person is related to, and has been tracking them down trying to get revenge. And that's pretty much all we know. And I think they're going to now team up. So could turn out to be great, but at the moment I'm kind of feeling like it'll just be a middle of the road short horror series. I put Beasts of Burden was at number 3, and there's tons of Beasts of Burden miniseries. This one's called Occupied Territory. I assume it's only going to be 4 or 5 issues. It's kind of reaching towards being a more special horror series, but it is held back by its writing style. Like, there's all this cool stuff in it, but there's also all this dull dialogue. Even though it's dialogue between magical dogs talking to each other, it gets kind of dull at times. And then there'll be these really cool moments. Plus, there's really, really great artwork by Benjamin Dewey, an artist I've liked ever since I first discovered him in the Autumn Lands. But he just keeps getting better. And I think he's doing the coloring here too. And it's a really nice to look at. And I love the idea of this whole hidden world of magical animals and dogs and spirit creatures fighting off evil that the rest of us are not aware of, evil magic lurking around us. So, yeah, I go back and forth on how I feel about Beasts of Burden. One of my favorite comics of the past 2 or 3 years, The Immortal Hulk, close to wrapping up, and it doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel like we're really close to wrapping up. But the Hulk is kind of back to his more regular, muscle-bound, ultra-violent self. Although he's got still got a lot of attitude. He's not like the dumb Hulk. And this issue is basically a big fight with the Avengers, and with then the what's it called, the Gamma Flight coming into the fight. And it's really well done and everything. But I'm less excited by it than all the normal plot twists and character stuff. Hopefully I'm definitely after issue 50 when it all ends, and I guess it's definitely ending because we know that Donny Cates is coming on it, so a whole new creative team will be coming along. They haven't decided to extend it beyond the 50 pages, but 50 issues. But anyway, so it was a fun enough issue, but there's been better from the Immortal Hulk. So good. Definitely good. From 5 up, from the Hulk up, are all very good. I really enjoyed Night Hunters, but I couldn't remember the entire plot, and I think all along I've been a bit half unfocused on who all the characters are in the 4 issues as they come out. This is the final issue, but it's still a fun sort of final battle between idealistic, are they gangsters, criminals, or are they really the good guys, and then the police are the bad guys in this future Venezuela, and the cool sort of primitive visuals from Alexis Zurit. I think I can't wait for his next project. I just really enjoy seeing what he does with art, and even though it appears primitive, he feels like he's always trying something a little new and pushing his primitive art style in different ways. He's very conscious of it. It's not because he can't draw well or something like that. So just a very cool artist. And I will definitely try to reread all 4 issues together, and then I can probably track what happened a little better. If I could have tracked what happened a little better, I would have ranked this probably at number 2. But so it was at number 4. At number 3 is Jenny Zero, and I will perfectly admit this as a comic with many flaws, including that the art sometimes looks great and sometimes looks kind of hurried and rushed and sloppy. But I'm really kind of enjoying the story of this daughter of a famous kaiju fighter who has some genetic kaiju-ness hidden inside of her, that and her kind of struggles with her father's legacy and what people are trying to force her into and all the lies that have been told to her, and her weird sort of semi-celebrity, and her friendship with a friend who's kind of like Paris Hilton or something, but is also her publicist. So it's interesting. It's fun. I don't know. I like it. I can't totally explain. Someone told me they hated it or were mad on it, and I could completely see why, but I'm really enjoying Jenny Zero. It's by people I've never heard of before. 2 writers, David Dwanch and Brockton McKinney. Illustrated by Magenta King, and color art by Dam, D-A-M. But it's only copyright by David Dwanch and Brockton McKinney, just the writers, which may explain why at times the art looks rushed, because the artist, although kind of a cool artist when she wants to be, also has she doesn't have a piece of the action. It's not her creation. Or she's not getting credit for it being partially her creation. So in at number 2 is a comic I was super excited for because it was Peter Milligan teaming up with Inaki Miranda, who he and his brother were the artists and authors of We Live, which was a beautiful book. But again, I looked at the copyright material, and it's only copyright by Peter Milligan and Aftershock Comics themselves, with no participation from Inaki Miranda. And that might be why this is sort of lesser Inaki Miranda artwork. He's a very good artist. It's still very good art. But anyway, this is a very cool sort of mystery involving sort of horror and astral projection. There's some kind of gruesomely scarred person who wants to collect a soul, and a person who and a psychologist who is between life and death, and they want to collect his soul for this. Where's the picture of the bad guy? Anyway, it's got a lot of cool elements, including stuff about psychedelic drugs, because it's the psychiatrist is someone who works with psychedelic drugs in his therapy, which is kind of a trendy thing right now, I think, with psilocybin and the like. I wish I could find that picture of the bad guy's face, but I can't. It's also beautifully colored. So it's a fun comic to read. I don't think it's. We can see where it's going. We can't see where it's going, but I assume it'll be a pretty short one, and I don't think there'll be any big surprises here. But a fun read if those elements interest you. And then finally, my number 1 comic. I really love this comic, but at the same time, like thinking about We Live. There have been comics that I've loved and that a lot of people have loved, and then somewhere down the line, maybe even in the last few pages, they take a turn, and then they aren't the comic you loved as much as you thought. So I guess Nice House on the Lake is going to be 12 issues. Issue 1 is fantastic, and it implies that we're going to get a fantastic ride, a fantastic story. Hopefully, like that Jeff Lemire comic, the trees. Wait, what's it called? My Family Tree. I'm sorry, which seemed so great to me for about 4 issues. So I've been reading too many serialized comics to not be suspicious of my own love of a comic by now. But anyway, this one, who is the artist? Because the artist is amazing. Alvaro Martinez Bueno. James Tynion, who everyone now knows is one of the top writers around, which is interesting. When I first encountered him, and a lot of us first encountered him during the New 52, he was just kind of a minor acolyte of Scott Snyder. But at this point, he may be becoming, over the long term, the bigger writer in the field, which is interesting to contemplate. So a group of people are invited to kind of a weekend party at a luxurious sort of Frank Lloyd Wright-esque house on a lake in Wisconsin. And we kind of flash back to different conversations some of them have had with the person inviting them. And we get a little bit of each person's life story. And each one is kind of tagged as something, the comedian, and each one gets a little symbol. And I think those are the same symbols on the cover. And this symbol is highlighted on the cover, so I guess it's more from that person's point of view. I think it's a woman. Let's see. I'm not doing a good job of describing this. The artist, I think that's the one that's highlighted there. So anyway, all these people are gathered together. Most of them, or a lot of them, went to Sarah Lawrence College or University, which is the same place that James Tynion went to. So I thought that was interesting. And they're all clustered around New York City, which makes sense from that university also. But so there's I think the character who had invited them all. And I don't want to give away the twist at the end of the first issue that kind of totally changed what I thought this comic was going to be about. But it does kind of leave me wondering, where will the comic go from here? There's a number of ways it could go. So I'm eager to see where Tynion will take it. Is it a horror? Is it really a horror? I guess it is going to be a horror comic, but it's also maybe going to be a science fiction comic. And it's clearly a comic of character and character interactions, I think, which I'm really looking forward to. So while I'm wasting your time, since I got my new comics yesterday but haven't read any of them, I thought I'd show you that stack quickly of what I'm hoping to read in the next few days. We'll see if I can get to it all. So I got Marjorie Finnegan, Temporal Criminal, which is one, it's not on my pull list. I'm picking it up off the shelves. I had fun with it, but I thought it was a rather shallow book. Maybe if it'll really delve into its shallowness, that might be fun. It's a Garth Ennis comic. American Vampire 1976. I wonder if we're close to wrapping up on this one. I think so. The Good Asian, issue number 2. I think this is 7 issues. I think I heard that in an interview with the author. And I really enjoyed the first issue, and I really like the idea of the setting and the kind of historical aspects of it, along with the cool art and the film noir type of story. Apparently I put this on my pull list, The Secret Land by Christopher Emgard and Tomas Era. I don't remember anything about it, why I might have put it on my list, but there must have been something about the description in it in previews several months ago that caught my attention. The final issue of Birthright. I'm kind of sad but kind of relieved that it's wrapping up. In the penultimate issue, and all of this has been kind of the epilogue, the last 5 issues. Excuse me, or last 6 issues, I'm not sure which. I kind of thought they should have landed a happy ending in issue 49 with everyone ending up in Terranos, but they had to leave, or most of them had to leave Terranos. So I see them all together here, so I'm not sure what that will mean. And then my dirty little secret, I said I was giving up on Batman, but I keep picking up Batman Detective. I can't resist it. And a lot of it, it's it's the creative team on it that keeps me there. And then I thought I'd try out 6 sidekicks of Trigger Keaton. It's written by Kyle Starks. It kind of has the sound, just from looking at it, of it being somewhat like his Assassination, which I thought was a fun comic. Different artist this time around, but we'll see. I think that's the only Kyle Starks I've read before, but I've heard a lot of good things about Kyle Starks elsewhere. And then we got Geiger #3. I have now put this on my pull list. Really liked it starting with issue 2, so hopefully I won't change my mind now that I put it on the pull list and made my shop track it for me. It's looking cool. And then at my backup shop, they had Eve 1 and Eve 2. I think Eve 2 came out this past Wednesday. And somewhere on YouTube I heard someone talking about this, and it piqued my interest, so I thought I'd give that a try. And I picked up Oblivion Song number 31. I dropped it, and then I found out this is the final arc, because I thought I would switch to trades on it. So I might as well keep getting the final arc in floppies. And then in the mail from Etsy, I got Copra issue number 40. With an amazing center spread there. It looks great, as Copra always does, in its crazy, wacky way. So that's what's up for me next in my reading. I will talk to all of you later. I hope you're having a great comic book reading week.